Hey, what's up everybody? It's Flux of fluxwithit.com, and today we're going to check out the Delta Cep A from Radikal Technologies. This is a module that created a lot of buzz when it was debuted at NAMM. What I wanted to do is show a video that kind of talks about some of the things that I feel like people don't really know about this unit, because it does have a lot of hidden functionality. This unit can sync to external tempo, so I have a clock source coming into it from my Fluxus 1, and all you have to do is hit shift and then adjust the speed, and it will tempo sync to that input, and you can use it as a clock divider, which is really nice. So I have that synced there. Another feature that's really great about this thing is if I hold down the gate button here, we're going to look at the oscillator for a second, and I can hit shift and gate, and it's going to hold that oscillator down. It'll hold the gate open, and I can hit shift and adjust the waveform, which is the TLM, which is going to let us pulse width modulate any of these waveforms. And then if we take it back to 1, it's back to center. So let's go to this triangle wave here, and these all freely morph between all the waveforms. You can see this here. Let's actually go ahead and make this a little bit more straightforward. So let's say we have a triangle wave here, shift and wave. So not only are we pushing and pulling the waveform to one side, but it does it in a kind of smooth way. You'll see that there's these really cool curves that happen there. So it makes it very pleasant to the ears. And of course that can stay affecting the waveform as I morph it. And I can adjust from here. And then of course I can so we can take that here. So if you notice, if I take, let's say, this triangle wave, and I really kind of warp it out there a bit, and then I go over to this wave here, this square wave, and I blend back a little bit, you'll notice that you're still getting some of that twist in there, and then I can still control the pulse width from here without it affecting that curve of the other waveform, which is pretty crazy. So you can get some really interesting sounds out of this thing. It's a very flexible oscillator. Now on top of that, what we have is we've got this density knob. Now if I turn up the density, we're adding in waveforms, and then if I detune it, you get that swarm oscillator going, right? So you can do like kind of hypersols, but it gets more interesting than that. Okay, so before I dive too deep into that, I'm going to go ahead and show you this. The oscillator level will also let you overdrive the oscillator wave shape as well, and pretty heavily at that. So let's go to this triangle, and we'll overdrive that. Really massive change. So you can go subtle, or you can go extreme. Let's take a look at saw wave here. So that can be pretty extreme. And going back to that density, we can detune it. waveform. But here's where it gets really cool. If I hit shift and I turn the detune knob, I'm actually changing chords. So let's go up to 1 here. And now let's bring this up. And as I bring up the density, I'm adding notes to the chord. And what's really wild about that is you can still affect the detune as well. So you get that slight little bit of drifting in there. Okay, that's enough droning of that, right? Now, here's another really cool hidden aspect of this. Let's turn this down for now. Density's down, so we have just our straight oscillator. This is a wild feature that I did not expect. If you hold down shift and you turn the decay knob, it creates an internal routing between your LFO and your gate, and it starts triggering your gate. And then depending on how far you turn your decay will dictate how long your gate length is. Shift and tempo is start and stop. So, and again, it will all be tempo synced to your clock source as well. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now, here's my LFO output. I'm going to plug that into the volt per octave input. Now you'll notice it sounds like I just plugged in LFO into a volt per octave input, right? So this thing has a quantizer built into it, and we can select scales with it as well. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll actually do, so blue is negative, blue is minor, and red is major scales. So we'll go here, and what we'll do is we'll slow this way down. And we'll actually, let's do a random wave here. Now, in addition to that, we also have control over our pitch in octaves. So if you hit shift and move pitch, it'll actually octave transpose. And again, we're tempo synced, we can adjust by divisions. And just to show you that it's tempo synced, I'll bring some drums in. That off, you just shift and turn the decay down, and it'll break that connection so that it's no longer triggering it. Another great feature, just kind of moving down the line here, is the filters in this thing. You have 3 different types of filters in here. You have a digital 12 dB filter, a digital 24 dB low pass filter, and an analog 12 dB filter. Now the analog and digital 12 dB filters have low pass, band pass, and high pass, and you can select them in any combination. So obviously if you have them all in there, you're getting all pass and, you know, band pass, high pass. So let's take a quick listen to how the digital 12 dB filter sounds. And oh, sorry, I had the high pass on there too. Very smooth. Let's give it some resonance now, right? And when you really push it, it kind of has this nice saturation sound to it. So they do self-oscillate, and you can get to all those beautiful in-between places with it. Love that. Let's take a listen to the analog version of the 12 dB filter, and the analog version has a pretty cool sound to it. Shift plus high pass gives you the analog, and you can tell what mode you're in by the color of the LED. Red is the analog. Gets cool and throaty. Hear it pulling those harmonics. Very nice. And of course you have high pass of that as well. Low pass 24 dB. Now the low pass 24 dB is a different model from the 12 dB. It's kind of like a ladder design, digital ladder design in there, and it has a different characteristic. It's not just a different slope. Okay, now when you're in the 24 dB mode, you do not have the bandpass or high pass. That's just the two 12 dB modes. I actually kind of prefer the digital 12 dB filter on this thing. I really like the way they did the saturation on it. Just sounds great. So those different filters in there are something that can kind of be deceptive from the panel. Like, it's both digital and analog filtering going on. And here's where it gets really wild with that. This cutoff input will make you think, hey, I can control the cutoff of my filter. But the thing about it is, it's actually stereo filtering going on here. And because of that, you can do some really wacky stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and let this thing start running again. And I hope you have headphones on or a nice set of stereo monitors. Let's send it a nice LFO. So what's happening there? What's happening is positive is actually affecting the right channel and negative is affecting the left channel. So when we send it a bipolar LFO, you're actually getting stereo manipulation of the field on this thing, and it just can be really, really interesting. Now let's get to the effects section. The effects section, they added another thing on here. So they added reverb, and you'll notice that we already have 5 effects. They didn't add a 6th effect. They added reverb to all of these effects independently. So now if let's say I'm letting this thing run, and we'll tame this a little bit. Okay, so let's say I want to bring in some tape delay. So we're getting a nice kind of tape delay effect, and we want to add reverb. You just hold down paraphonic and you raise the dry wet level. Paraphonic, bring it about here, and we'll increase the time of the reverb. And the feedback amount. We can bring it all the way up. So let's go a little bit deeper into these effects a little bit. So not only do we have reverb that can be laid across the tape, the delay, the chorus, the phaser, and the flanger, but those 5 effects are also really wild as far as the sort of delay control that you get over them. So I'm just going to have a little play with this thing and let you guys enjoy it. And again, I'm just using the LFO. I'm not using a sequencer at all.